Africa is rising and the world is moving towards greater multipolarity. Yet, for the next 25 years, the continent is set to remain at the margins of global power. The African Futures Project used a new index that goes beyond the traditional measures of demographics, economics, military and technology, and includes measures of diplomatic influence. This index measures Africa to hold about 8% of global power, more than that of Japan, Russia, or India, but less powerful than the US, China, or the European Union. By 2040, Africa's total relative power is forecast to surpass that of the declining EU and US, although only coming to around 11% of global power. Nigeria, South Africa, Ethiopia, Egypt, and Algeria, the Big Five, have some of the largest power potential in Africa. But Nigeria is the only country that could become a globally significant player. The Big Five will inevitably shape the future of the continent. Collectively, they will continue to account for 60% of the African economy, 40% of Africa's population, and 58% of its military expenditure. Measuring and forecasting power is complex. We use the International Futures Forecasting System to explore the changing power capabilities of the Big Five over the next 25 years. Our forecast suggests a clear distinction between the status quo powers, Egypt, Algeria, and South Africa, and the emerging powers, Nigeria and Ethiopia. The capabilities of Nigeria and Ethiopia are expected to grow considerably in the future. Those of Egypt, South Africa, and Algeria, on the other hand, are forecast to remain stagnant. But potential doesn't necessarily equal actual power projection. Actually, Algeria and Nigeria punch below their weight, and Egypt punches above its weight internationally, but below its weight in Africa. Nigeria's projection of external power is compromised by internal violent conflict and a lack of strategic focus in its foreign policy. Algeria's huge military capacity is mostly focused on domestic threats in an unstable region. Ethiopia and South Africa have a record of punching above their weight. Ethiopia's rise is in line with its growing influence in the region. South Africa, the only African member of the BRICS and the G20, significantly increased its leverage in Africa and globally after the end of apartheid. As for the future, it is likely that Africa will remain multipolar in terms of power distribution. Only very deep economic and political integration, complemented by much more rapid and sustained economic growth, could offset Africa's marginal global role. Also, the quality of governance will play a role in how effectively African countries translate capabilities into power projection. Connect with us online.
Hi there, welcome from the Weather Desk. Now, this is actually a look at what the weather would look like in 2050. Now, this is very important in terms of climate change and how it's going to affect us here in South Africa. You'll see there'll be places that will be severely impacted, such as the Western Cape province, as we'll be seeing severities of strong winds coming in there, and also an increased number of cold fronts also coming in along the western coastline. And temperatures are also expected to drop, leading to cold weather expected along the Western Cape coastline. We're also expecting most of the time 80% chance of showers, but in some places such as the Northern Cape province, hot and dry conditions would be expected there. And you'll see also a similar trend into the Eastern Cape province as it gets much drier along winter regions, as well as into places such as KwaZulu-Natal. But towards the northeastern part, again, summer rainfall might drop, but possibilities of risk factors coming in terms of severe rainy conditions coming in over short periods of time, and also heavy rainfall falling over very short periods of time. This is just an example of what we should expect in 2050. Now, you would remember in 2014, lesser chance of rainfall we expected, but now we're expecting severe heavy rainfall to come through over the Western Cape province. This is actually in Philippi over the Western Cape, as well as into Cape Town And the risk of heavy rainfall could lead to places, or could lead to road accidents and could lead to flooding in homes, and that could also lead to vulnerable communities being even more vulnerable to the severe diseases. Now, these are warnings that would be given out by the South African Weather Service. Now, you'll see that there's possibilities of heavy rainfall that I just showed you in just a second. And then, again, hot and dry conditions there could also lead to felt fires, could lead to crops also being damaged. Along the northeastern parts, again, possibilities of rainfall. And you'll see when you look at the northeastern parts, again, the severe rainfall that we should expect there, and these could lead to lots and lots of flooding of tourist areas, lots of economic loss along the Limpopo regions, as well as over some parts of Mozambique. If you look at the Mozambique channels, the low pressure cells that are expected there, those could lead to heavy rainfalls. These are roads being blocked off because of the flooding that's taking place. Just have a look at the track already flooding all the way towards the northern parts, or rather the highest point of the track. And as we move on, you'll see we're expecting most of these roads to be flooded along the borders of Limpopo as well as Mozambique, causing heavy financial losses into most places. And you'll also do expect the possibilities of these to continue into some parts of Mpumalanga, extending into the Crocodile River, and that could also lead to some severe biodiversity losses into those parts. As you know, in 2014, the average rainfall is around 1,000 millimeters per year, but we could see 1,000 millimeters in just a month. We could even see a whole lot more in just a rainy season. Sometimes you'll even expect severe dry conditions along the Northern Cape province as well as into some parts of the Northwest province. Okay, that was your look at 2050, what the weather would look like as a result of what climate change could do to South Africa. Thank you very much. Enjoy.
Climate change is affecting the weather everywhere. It makes it more extreme and disturbs established patterns. That means more disasters, more uncertainty. We can reduce the risks by cutting global greenhouse gas emissions and building low-carbon economies. Let's work together to make our societies safer and more resilient. Please join me in taking action on climate change. Thank you.